I'm Evie Jones, and you're listening to Playing on Air. You are about to hear the world premiere of Typhoid Mary by Mike Liu. It is part of Playing on Air's Wordsmith Duo, supported by the Axe Houghton Foundation. The Wordsmith Duo commissions two playwrights to collaborate on a kernel of an idea and then write their own distinct play, which results in pieces that particularly resonate in a unique way when they're heard together. Typhoid Mary's partner play, Mary, Mary Quite Contrary, which was written by Liu's wife, Frihana Liu Mirza, takes place 8 years before today's piece. Both plays can be accessed on our website and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Mike Liu's plays include Tiger Style and Bike America. He is a Tony voter, Dramatists Guild council member, a resident of New Dramatists, and a former co-director of Ma Yi Writers Lab, the largest collective of Asian American playwrights in the country. Typhoid Mary is directed by Moritz von Stulpnagel, who also directed to great acclaim Hand to God, Present Laughter, The Thanksgiving Play, and many more, both on and off Broadway. The cast features Catherine Curtin, well known for her work in Netflix's Orange is the New Black and The Partner Track. She is joined by Matt Park, an actor, poet, and songwriter who has performed at Joe's Pub, Rattlestick Theatre, and the Dublin Fringe Festival. And Cindy Cheung, known for her roles in films like The Lady in the Water and Children of Invention, and also for her work in TV shows including The Sinner, New Amsterdam, and 13 Reasons Why. Michael Chernus is an accomplished Obie Award-winning stage actor who's also known for memorable roles in the Apple TV Plus series Severance and Netflix's Orange is the New Black. And now, Typhoid Mary.
In 1915, an outbreak of typhoid fever at Sloan Hospital prompts an investigation of the entire hospital staff, including the new cook, Mary Brown. To lead the investigation, the hospital calls in a specialist in the field. He is a sanitation engineer, and his name is George Soper. Soper. Sanitation. I'm not making this up. A lot of the rest is made up.
Mary, can I talk to you a minute?
Sure, yeah, what's all the fuss about?
Oh, there's been an outbreak of typhoid fever. It's terrible.
Typhoid, huh?
I know, isn't it crazy? A typhoid outbreak in this day and age. Fevers, rashes, vomiting, the whole thing. Spreading through the hospital like wildfire. We're up to 25 cases. You haven't felt off lately, have you?
Nah, could you excuse me? I have a lot of cooking to do.
Oh, no, we're not done here. This is just a pre-screening, but... Mary, can you please pay attention? Mary, please put down the soup ladle. No, don't handle the soup ladle with your bare hands. No, don't sop up the excess soup from the soup ladle onto your fingers. No, don't lick your fingers to taste the soup. No, don't touch the soup ladle with your fingers you've licked. No, don't stir the soup with the soup ladle you just touched with your licked fingers. No, don't breathe deeply on a ladle full of soup and then mix that ladle of soup back into the soup pot. Mary, please focus. There's an outbreak of typhoid fever. We have to mitigate it.
What's all this have to do with me?
Nothing, maybe. This outbreak may very well be spreading because of the patients. This is a hospital. They're sick. That would make sense. But we do need to question the staff because they, too, are a possible vector.
Well, I disagree.
No, it's true. You could be the source of the outbreak. Anyone could.
I have typhoid, okay?
Okay, no one said you did. This is just a pre-screening. Okay. First question. Mary, do you wash your hands when you cook?
Not frequently.
Well, you should.
Why would I?
Well, we have this new theory about germs. There's these microscopic organisms on your hands. They're called germs, and they cause disease. These germs can transfer from person to person or onto the things that you touch if you don't wash your hands.
What a load of hooey.
I can see that it's only a theory, but do it anyway. Please wash your hands.
Bureaucracy.
Second question. Mary, have you ever had typhoid?
I just said I don't have it.
But have you ever?
No.
Have you or anyone you know been in close contact with anyone with typhoid? In the past 5 days, have you had fever, chills, headaches, nausea, or lain motionless and exhausted with your eyes half closed in what's known as the typhoid state?
No, none of those things.
And how long have you worked here, Mary?
2 weeks.
Oh, well, this outbreak started 2 weeks ago.
So you're saying you sent me to work during a typhoid outbreak and you didn't tell me? That's a real hazard to me.
Uh-huh. Mary, where did you work before Sloan Hospital?
Oh, I've always been a cook. Cooking's my passion. Well, no, I do it for money, so I guess having money to live is my passion. Cooking's a close second.
I noticed in your resume there's this 3-year employment gap. Can you explain that?
Not. I wasn't quarantined on North Brother Island for 3 years, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, was it?
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm just not sure what any of this has to do with me. You ought to be questioning sick people, and I'm not sick.
Is that a cough?
No, it's just allergies.
You have allergies.
Yep.
You're allergic to what, exactly?
I'm allergic to this line of questioning. Now, can I please get back to my job?
Of course. I'm just going to give you a typhoid test.
What? No.
Why not? What's the big deal?
You're not taking my feces.
Okay. How'd you know it's a fecal test? Mary, everyone on staff is testing for typhoid. It's called tests to stay.
I don't have time for this. I'm a hospital cook. I have to make several small cups of Jell-O.
Yes, it's important work. But
People rely on me to alleviate the uncertainty of the hospital. I make them a hot meal that lets them say, whoa, this is certainly hospital food. I have value here, and you're treating me like some kind of disease. It's undignified.
it's not undignified. We just asked that you poop in a jar.
I am not taking your typhoid test. Here?
Okay, I was hoping we could avoid this, but because you're so recalcitrant to basic questioning, I'm afraid you fail the pre-screening. We have an outside investigator who will further handle your case. She's all yours, Mr. Soper.
Soper!
My God! My God!
You again. Why are you so obsessed with me?
This is the source of your outbreak right here.
You haven't even questioned her. How can you be so sure?
Because this is Mary Mallon.
No, Mary Brown.
She obviously changed her name.
Mary Mallon. Typhoid Mary.
Don't call me that.
This is the woman who caused that cluster of outbreaks 3 years ago.
You're telling me I hired Typhoid fucking Mary?
I'm afraid that's the case.
Mary Brown? You didn't even bother to change your first name?
What can I say? I got a real Mary face.
It's true, you're not much of a Clodagh or Siobhan. But you lied to me!
Miss Mallon, I must say, I'm quite shocked and chagrined seeing you here.
That's not what your randy eyes say.
You swore you'd never cook again! Those were the exact conditions of your release.
For 3 years, you entrapped me on a tiny island outside of the Bronx with nothing but a dog for company. I'd have sworn anything.
I didn't entrap you. It's quarantine.
For 3 years? You don't find 3 years of stringent typhoid protocols a little obscene?
Well, not if you're going to instantly violate your release terms.
I can't believe you knowingly brought your contagion here, Mary.
Hey, you asked if I could cook. You did not ask about typhoid.
This is a hospital. You can't have typhoid in a hospital.
What better place to have typhoid?
You are just unrepentant. Think of the patients, the staff.
Yeah? But I don't have to, because I don't have typhoid. I am not Typhoid Mary. I am not a disease. Typhoid is all around us. It's in the air. It's bad clams and bad well water. Me trying to make a living has nothing to do with that.
You could have been anything but a cook.
Why should I be? Does me not cooking truly make that much of a difference?
I don't know. Could you try it?
We've been trying it. For the 3 years you held me, did typhoid go away?
Yes, it did.
No more typhoid in all of New York City.
Well, no.
So we did it your way. And after 3 years, the city's no better for it. Whereas here I am, penniless. None of those rich families will take me back again thanks to you. What job would you have me do? If not a cook.
Being a laundress is half the pay. What job can an immigrant woman like me hope to get? You've sullied my name.
You exaggerate.
People are literally calling me typhoid.
That does kind of stink. Like at first I found the name funny, but seeing you here now, I can see how it may come off as hurtful.
You just want me penniless on the streets so I can catch tuberculosis, and then you can really lock me up in your quarantine. You just want me back on your sex island.
It's not a sex island. North Brother Island is a regular island. And I do want you back there, but only to do my experiments on you where no one will bother us. Wait, that came out wrong.
Ma'am, this man is obsessed with me. For years, he's been following me around from job to job, trying to get me fired.
I'm not obsessed. It's a case study.
You said you were writing a book about me. And if I played my cards right, you'd give me the book money.
I don't like what you're implying.
Well, was there a book or wasn't there?
I like to, on occasion, publish fantastical cases in medical journals, but my interest is purely scientific. I'll prove it. Here's what I wrote, okay? I said that you're 40 years of age, intelligent, tall, heavy, single, and non-communicative. Like, that's not weird at all.
It's incredibly weird.
That is the smuttiest medical study I've ever heard.
Who ever heard of a sanitation worker publishing medical studies? You have a lot of confidence for a garbage man.
I'm not a garbage man. I'm a PhD scientist.
Is your PhD in stalking?
No, it's in science things. I got it in you. I mean, in studying you. I just got it. Thank you.
No one said congratulations.
And yes, I do publish in medical journals and do detective work for the sanitation department, as well as outbreak control and contact tracing, and I'm an Army major.
You know those credentials don't fit together so good.
It's because he's a liar. He's a serial liar who's obsessed with possessing me.
Is this about that date that I asked you on?
What?
Because I'm over it. I'm not even interested. In fact, I was actually wondering if you'd like to go out.
What? Who, me? Oh, no. I'm long married. I'm 25.
You said I hid in a closet and threatened you with a carving fork.
But you did! When I approached you and very reasonably asked for your blood, feces, and urine, you did do those things.
I couldn't have threatened you and hid from you. Pick a lie.
How dare you? Men of science don't lie.
Okay. Well, if you're a man of science, let's talk this over rationally.
Good. I would like that.
Great. Then I'll have you over at my place. We could talk there. I'll cook you a nice home-cooked meal.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. I'd love that. Wait, no! You're Typhoid Mary!
I don't! But you're only proving my point.
Mary? We've been over this. You're a typhoid carrier.
I'm not even sick.
You're not sick with typhoid, but you have typhoid. You're a healthy carrier causing silent transmission. You've had typhoid since birth, likely from your mother's prenatal infection. The typhoid lives in your gallbladder, and it makes you permanently contagious unless you stop cooking.
You hired this guy. You paid him?
He came highly recommended by the Department of Health.
Well, he sounds pretty unhinged to me. I mean, if you ask me.
You do sound unhinged.
I'm not unhinged. It's just you won't listen to me. Just let me take out your gallbladder. That's the source of infection. Just give me your gallbladder. Why won't you give it?
Mr. Soper, that is enough. You will not take her gallbladder. Not here. You don't have admitting privileges.
You're trusting this guy to fix your typhoid outbreak? This is the guy for you? And I am the irrational one?
Please, ma'am, you have to believe me.
Well, no, I don't know who to believe. You lied to me, but you sound crazy. But you changed your name, but your name is funny. But you want her gallbladder, but you don't believe in hand washing. But you want to go to some weird deserted island together.
I'm confused. You keep saying you, and I'm not sure who's who.
Mary, just take the typhoid test and maybe this will all go away.
Everyone is always after my feces. I must crap golden eggs.
Please? It's just this one test.
No, for 3 years. They've had me on that island taking stool samples from me 3 times a week. Where's the decency? Do I have no right to privacy? Does my very excrement belong to the state?
Mary, I respect where you're coming from.
You don't! Because it's not just my dignity. It's the very idea that this man, with his dingbat theories, is somehow going to single-handedly stop typhoid by interfering with me. At some point, we've got to stop with the testing, forget typhoid, and get on with our lives.
Okay, you're burnt out with the stool samples, I get it, but this is a serious outbreak. People will die.
Maybe so. But I refuse to believe that I'm the cause of it.
Just as you refuse to believe that you were the cause of 7 typhoid outbreaks in the last 8 families you worked for. Just as you refuse to own up for the hundreds of cases you've caused and several deaths.
That's right, Soper. I don't believe it.
It doesn't matter what you believe. I've traced the outbreaks myself. This is science.
Well, I have my own science.
You can't have your own science. Science is science.
Then I'll do my own research.
That isn't how science works. Whether you believe it or not, it's in you, Mary. The typhoid bacteria is in you. It lives in your accursed gallbladder. Just give me your gallbladder. Give it.
Soper, you're not helping, you creep. Just shut up and stand over there.
What, by the soup?
Yeah, try the soup. It's supposedly good.
That is good. What is that, creme fraiche?
On a hospital budget, it's glue. Mary, even if it's not you, even if you don't believe you're the cause of the outbreak, wouldn't you want to test and find out? Shouldn't we be doing everything in our power to find the source of the outbreak, limit exposures, and just plain care for each other?
Yeah. No.
No?
No! We've been living with typhoid fever for years. It's endemic now. I'm tired of typhoid fever. I don't care about typhoid fever.
Okay, well, you may not care about typhoid fever, but I assure you our laundress, doubled over and covered in rashes, our laundress, who very well may die from it, does care about typhoid fever. If we don't care for each other, we're never going to contain it.
Then don't contain it. According to him, I've had typhoid my whole life. I'm fine.
It's selfish.
But I have to cook. I have to eat.
Well, if you won't cooperate with the terms of your release, I have no choice but to put you back on North Brother Island.
No! I am not going back there.
You are. The Department of Health says you are. DOH badge. Read it and weep.
You can't just imprison me on your whim.
It's not a prison. It's quarantine. There's a difference. Prison means you're behind bars, whereas quarantine means you're just on a little island with 24-hour observation and you can't leave or have a husband or friends or a job. You can have the dog back. Maybe.
No. Soper. I've had it. I am not taking your crap anymore. And by not taking your crap, I mean I am not giving you my crap 3 times a week. I am done.
How long will you hold her there, Soper?
Probably like 20 years? I don't know. Till she dies, really.
Till she dies? Is it really necessary to hold this woman the rest of her life?
If we want to get rid of that outbreak.
And just to be clear, it will get rid of the outbreak.
Oh, yeah, I think so, yes.
You think so? It's just, she's right that we did have other outbreaks while you were holding her. She can't be the only healthy carrier.
No, Whoa, I never thought of that.
I mean, what if she's right? What if the typhoid's endemic? If it's endemic, you could quarantine her, and that be one source of the outbreak's gone, but it wouldn't solve all of them.
Yes, but for this particular outbreak, I've done the hard work of tracing the cause, and it's her. And I want credit for that.
What if she just washes her hands from now on?
That's not enough for me.
I also, frankly, wouldn't.
Then what if she agrees not to cook? Huh? Like, for real this time. If it meant your freedom, you'd agree to that. Wouldn't you, Mary?
I mean... No.
Mary, what the hell?
Look here. What if you just let me leave? Huh? I'll change my name. I'll change jobs, not change jobs. Yeah, I'd still be a cook. But I'd be a cook elsewhere.
So you're just gonna keep spreading typhoid?
Yeah. I've been changing cooking jobs and last names every week or two. This has been working for me.
Wow, you are really not helping your case.
Sorry, ma'am. All I want to do is cook.
And all I want is for everyone to take reasonable precautions to end the typhoid. But since we as a community can't seem to do that, you as an individual must suffer. You are the price society has to pay to get back to normal again.
But there has to be a way for all of us to come together and solve this. For all of us to both share the burden and pay the cost. Because even if you do lock her up again, I still have 25 other patients, and I'm out of cook.
That's, kind of your problem.
Well, then you're no better than her. You're too stubborn, and you're too shifty, you're too single-minded, and you're too self-righteous. You have unrealistic expectations of yourself, whereas you have unrealistic expectations of what we'll collectively tolerate. So, off with the both of you, then!
Again, with the you thing.
It's really ambiguous.
I am sorry, I can't help either of you any more than you're willing to help yourselves, because I am sick of the typhoid, too.
You ready, Mary? Don't run this time. And don't get the carving fork.
There was never a carving fork. Goodbye, ma'am. Did I do a good job, at least? These last 2 weeks? Was the food good?
Mary, it's hospital food.
Oh, true. Yeah. I still feel like I'm being singled out.
You are. But what would society be like if we just let the typhoid run rampant and pretend it's not even there?
I don't want to find that out.
Neither do I. So let's go, Mary. I'm taking that date you offered.
I never offered it.
No, you didn't. And yet we'll be on that date for the next 20 years. Just allergies.
You've just heard Typhoid Mary by Mike Liu. It was directed by Moritz von Stulpnagel and featured Catherine Curtin as Mary Mallon, Matt Park as George Soper, Cindy Cheung as the Supervisor, and Michael Chernus as the announcer. I am Evie Jones, and I'm the Executive Director of Playing on Air.
I'm Moritz von Stulpnagel, and I'm the director of Typhoid Mary.
Mike Liu, writer.
Catherine Curtin, unfortunately, I'm Typhoid Mary, but just, let's keep that on the down low.
I am Matt Park. I'm Soper.
I'm Cindy Cheung. I'm reading The Supervisor.
Mary's story is definitely a tragedy. It was definitely a tragedy in real life. You know, she spent, I think, something like 30 years in total.
Yeah, off and on.
Yeah, off and on
Wow.
in isolation on that darn island. Mike, what was it about your research that told you this feels like a rollicking comedy?
It wasn't research per se. Rahana and I are married. She wrote the companion piece, and we were in the car together and talking about how would we want to do this, these sort of bookended pieces, and what would we want to talk about together. And at some point she mentioned Typhoid Mary, and I thought that I knew that story. And she was like, not to correct you, but I don't know that you do. And so she started telling me a little bit about like what she knew about it. And I don't know why we started laughing about it, but there was something that was just so absurd about it, and that felt like it in a way paralleled our times, or that aspects of it paralleled in our times. And so we're both coming at the topic from different angles, but it really just started about us laughing uproariously in the car over something that was not funny at all.
And is it my imagination and Mary's, or is Soper more than a little flirty, a little more than interested in experimenting on Mary?
I think that's what we, I'll take it down even further. So we had an experience where our youngest kid was in the NICU for several months, and I come from a really medical background and sort of defer generally to medical people, because it's like there's this conflation of like my parents. And I think that Rahana comes from a little bit more of a skeptical background on it. So what we wanted to play around with was that this guy historically didn't occupy a role that we would associate with sort of pure science.
science. So there's aspects of his argument that are correct, and then there's aspects of it that are just patriarchy and sort of control, and we wanted to play around with the interplay between what's good health policy and what's just sort of what this guy wants.
And was any of that seeping through the historical record, or?
Yeah, because we went and looked at his studies, and there's a direct quote in the play that's like from his study, and if you were to read that in a medical journal today, you would ask, why did you choose to include these particular details about the person that you were studying? And so I think that there's a veneer of objectivity around science that we have seen lately, that there's also a lot of subjectivity, and we just wanted to poke at that a little bit. And so taking this historical example and looking at Mary historically bore all this responsibility, and that maybe that's true partially, but then that policy of isolating for like 30 years is so severe. And so how does that happen? We were just looking at some of those shades of gray.
Cindy, I wonder if you thought about your character, the supervisor, as funny. I did a little on the page, but when I heard it, I didn't understand how she became hysterical. This woman who didn't even have a name and was kind of caught between these two extreme mirror images of each other. Did you see her as a laugh riot when you read the role?
Yeah, I felt like I could hear, I think, what Mike was hearing. You know, somebody who's sort of rigid and bureaucratic and wanting to do the right thing is, you know, comedically just set up to be taken down. So I felt like that was sort of built in. Yeah, it seemed funny to me on the page, you know, how caught she was between Mary and Soper, and how her allegiances kept changing as she received more information, and how by the end she was just so caught and frustrated she just gave up on them both, which is funny and, you know, terribly sad.
I think class and cleanliness are really big factors in this play. And obviously with the real Typhoid Mary, Mary Mallon. Would we even know about Typhoid Mary if Soper had not been trying to track the typhoid outbreaks in well-to-do families? You know, families that typically had someone like her cleaning up after them.
I don't know. I think that's a very interesting question. And I think that this play and this whole, both of these pieces, Typhoid Mary and Mary, quite contrary, to me, are speaking to so many things that we need to speak to as a society, not only the medical stuff, but when does somebody lose power? When does somebody lose their freedom? When does somebody become a symbol of everything that's wrong? You know, it's like Mary would have been cancel cultured, right? Like I had heard the term Typhoid Mary, but I had no idea that this was like a real person who this really happened to. And it's fascinating. I think that you guys have really come up with something that it's kind of creepily weird that we're visiting this right now, and that this has already, that this all went down, you know? And I think comedy is the best way to deliver all messages, because through comedy comes conversation, and through conversation comes legislation. And so if we're going to really talk about these issues, and, you know, Typhoid Mary was a long time ago, so this is I just think these plays are so fascinating, and it's such a great polemic for us to revisit.
Mary is a single working woman, single working class woman, and cooking's her only real skill, and there's no upside for her to really change her behavior.
Everybody's wrong in this play, which, to go back to your point, is in some ways what makes it such a great comedy is because everybody's right and everybody's wrong. You know, Mary doesn't have a lot of career options as an immigrant, but also she could wash her hands, you know, and there's a number of things that probably could happen that might mitigate things to a certain extent, but also that she shouldn't necessarily lose bodily autonomy, as Kathy points out. You know, in the what's both hypocritical and has its own ambivalence. You know, we can hash out a conversation, and
right.
That was sort of my feeling anyway, which I thought was resonant for what's happening now as well.
Yeah. I think one of the things that kept jumping out for me is they were kind of accusing Mary of being a murderer, you know, but at the same time, she's just a woman who needs to keep her job and is unsure if this theory has any merit to it.
Because we all lost bodily autonomy for a little while there.
Yeah.
And I can remember I have a dog, and, they told us not to go out, don't go out, don't go out, be a service to your community, don't leave your apartment at the very beginning of the pandemic. So I have a dog, so I had to go out, So I would go outside, and everybody would look at each other like, you are possibly my death sentence. And so this real sense of like the horror of people being together, and we all at that moment lost bodily autonomy in a way and we did not have information that was correct.
I think one of the great tragedies of this pandemic is that there was a moment where it started to illuminate more the issues of racism and class, and just for some reason in this country, like once the general population gets a glimpse of like some type of truth, an uncomfortable truth, it shuts its eyes. And there were moments where class almost I don't even think it's almost cased for me. Like I don't know if there's actual mobility anymore. I mean, you see people in the pandemic that never had the luxury of going to work from home. So it turned the lights on, but then we all just collectively decided to shut the lights off. And I think that's one of the great tragedies of this. And a million people died, and we don't want to look at that. And I think we all should. And you don't have to be scared of it, but you do have to look it in the face, and you have to look at class in the face, and you have to look at racism in the face, and we just don't do that.
I think that there's a lot of resonance in terms of that. And that, when you look at the wackiness of how irrational chaos goes down in something as big as a pandemic, you open up not only the comedy, but the desperation. And I think you allow people a chance to sigh and to breathe and to cry through their tears, and I think that that's really the purpose for me of these comedies, is to remind ourselves, of what we went through collectively.
You've been listening to Playing on Air, Great American Short Plays with Great American Actors. Our founder and producing artistic director is Claudia Catania. Theme and play music, Tom Kochan. Audio editing, Joanna Lynn Staub. Recording and sound design, John Kilgore. Playing on Air is distributed by PRX, Public Radio Exchange. Special thanks to the National Endowment for the Arts, New York State Council on the Arts, the Horace W. Goldsmith Foundation, and Josie Merck for their support, and to listeners like you. Thank you. For Playing on Air, I'm Executive Director Evie Jones. Thanks for listening.